It's early spring, and the garden is just starting to wake up from its slumber. This space, which was basically snow covered, a blank slate a few weeks ago, is ready for transformation. Let's take a peek at what it looks like right now. And as the ground starts to wake up, we still have things growing in our garden, which is a great reminder that we can grow in and out of season. Cold hardy crops are such a beautiful surprise at the beginning of spring. However, I know that I could have let these carrots go for way longer, but they'll make a great addition to a charcuterie board. Here we are in the beginning of March, and one of the very first things that I direct sow is these snap peas. Sugar Daddy is the exact variety. I am just simply pulling away the mulch and putting the seeds directly into the ground. But if I'm honest, this is not the beginning of the garden, because the planning really started in January and figuring out what seeds we wanted and where exactly we wanted to put them at. We love getting to pick our varieties because we really get to tailor our food right to us and our families. Starting our food from seed is one of the joys that we take when starting a garden. It does take a lot of upfront time and a little bit of upfront cost, but we really do save it in the long run. And being able to watch these seeds go from a little tiny seed to a beautiful mature plant is something that I will always love to experience every single year. Starting plants from seed really does take a little bit of time just because you are nursing them, a nursery. You are taking care of these baby plants until they can be strong enough to really last outside on their own. And here we are hardening off our cool weather crops. This is such an important step when you are starting things from seed, or if you're getting things from the nursery and it's just not their time yet to get inside the ground. Hardening off is just going to make sure that your plants are well adjusted. We've got mustard, which, spoiler alert, went to seed because it was too hot, but we've got onions and broccoli and lettuce, just a whole host of really good cold hardy crops. Now that all our plants are hard enough, here are just some cool ones. Here's my lettuce and also my spinach, but however, my spinach has bolted because it just got way too hot. Spinach is definitely a fall-loving vegetable. And even though my beds are not quite ready yet, I am going to do my first transplants. However, they are going into a rain tower. Now, I think it's a rain gutter tower, pardon me. But what I'm going to put in here is just my bok choy. I love it because it is elevated off of the ground and it is super easy for shallow things or things that are a very quick turnaround, like maybe bok choy or radishes or lettuce. Now, before we can get any plants transplanted into the raised beds, we do have to amend the soil. What I do is add our compost into each of these raised beds. We bought our compost by the bag, but last year we actually bought it by the truck. So always just look around in your city and see what is offered and what is going to be the best thing suited for you. Now that we've got all of our compost into our raised beds, it is finally time to get some transplants into the ground. The first things I got in were shallots, celery, and lettuce. All of these things are cool weather crops, so they're going to be really great for the spring or they're going to be great for the fall. One of my favorite things that I'm planting this year is a variety of Napa cabbage, and I am just so excited to see it harvest. And as spring appears, so do the beautiful dandelion, which is a medicinal plant. You can use it from its leaves to its flowers. What we use is the flowers as a beautiful salve for our skin. The first plantings of spring are always so exciting. I've got leeks and broccoli in this container right now. And one of the coolest things about looking and growing different varieties is being able to see the differences within a family, like the allium family, which is basically the onion family. You've got your chives, we've got leeks, and we've got 3 different kinds of onions. So we're just spacing them apart appropriately and getting them really good into the ground. Welcome to April in the garden, and you can already tell that the grass is so much greener and the beds just look so much different. It is amazing what one month in the garden can really do. So as we go into this month, we are ready to get things in the ground and to also get some of those garden beds that we did not touch really ready. Now on this side of the garden, we've got 3 8x4 beds. And what I'm doing is just removing the lamb's quarter and any of the leftover material that was left over from last year. We grew corn in this bed, and I am just removing the leftover stalks that were in the ground. Now, one of the cool things is that I did cut this up from the stem and I left them in all fall long. What we do is we remove the leaves, ended up really just raking them and removing as much as we could by hand and putting our compost into the ground. And my favorite thing about this garden is that it is a true family effort and we enjoy it doing it together. Now here is our wonderful spinach, and because it got so hot, it is now starting to go to seed, which we will be saving these seeds to plant in the garden in the fall. What I'm doing is just removing any of the extras that I don't need, but I'll leave 1 female plant and 1 male plant to get the seeds from. April is filled with a lot of weeding and a lot of preparing for things that are going to be planted in the summer and everything that needs to be planted currently right now outside. What I do in any open spaces, like here with the cabbage and broccoli, is put either lettuce or radishes in here. That really helps to protect and suppress any weeds in the garden. If you are new to gardening, then this honestly is probably one of the most relaxing parts to me, is zoning out and just putting things in the ground. And right here, we have a little carrot patch that was planted in the fall. These are a small variety, but they turned out so well. And I am just so thankful for everything that I'm pulling out now in the beginning of spring to feed to my family. It might look like a little small patch, but this will make a big difference if we continue to do it every single year and always experiment with actually what works in our garden. Here I am just harvesting some dill, which smells so good and just so fresh. It is a beautiful, beautiful spring smell. The really cool thing about this stage of the garden is that it's almost the in-between. You get to see what things are going to be like, but also you get to see seedlings emerging and thriving, all while you are working the ground to get those summer vegetables in. Here is an update on my little peas, which are doing so well. On the corners, we have celery here, which is growing great, and our onions. And then finally, I actually left this outside. I've gotten to put our flowers, our sweet alyssum, all around the corners of our beds. Another staple in our garden is carrots and beets because we eat them. They're great for roasting, they are great for pickling, they're great for preserving, and I am just so excited to get these carrots and these beets in. When it comes to planting, I purposely make these grooves bigger and lightly cover them. It's helpful for me for when I'm putting in my radishes or anything else, so I know exactly where to not put them, so that I am not putting things on top of each other. Next, we are planting corn, and I live in the heartland, Nebraska, and we are the corn state, so it doesn't feel right to not grow corn in our garden. Last year, we grew a huge variety of corn, which took up 1 whole bed, and we really did enjoy it. But this year, we are going for a smaller variety. The name of it is Art Verrill's white corn. And what we always do afterwards is water them in really, really good. And because we succession plant, we are actually putting in beets in different places as well. And this one is actually a different variety. This is a cylindra beet, which is the first time we've actually tried this in our garden, and we're very excited. It is now time to harden off our warm weather crops, our peppers, our tomatoes, our eggplants, and everything that lies between. I find that hardening off is probably one of the tasks that I like least because we have a basement and it is constantly moving things up and downstairs as we get these guys hardened off to be okay to transplant outside into the garden. And as you can see, they look all good, all healthy, and all started inside from seed, which I am very proud of. We've got flowers, we've got pumpkins, we've got cucumbers. We literally have so much, and I am just so happy you can see. Now, one of the things that we did a little differently this year is that on day 2 of hardening off, we actually put them in the back in the sun to live and not transfer up and down, which I can say actually worked okay. We did have a couple that had sun scald, but nothing that really stopped anything from production. And as always, we water, and then we water some more. One of the best things about gardening is being able to experience the growth with the people around you, especially our children that get to see it from seed all the way to harvest, which for me, I think is a beautiful experience for any child to see, know exactly where their food is coming from and how to grow it. Finally, everything has successfully transferred into the garden, and we are so close from getting things in the ground. We've got tobacco, oregano here, calendula, nasturtium, and some basil that happened to get some sun scald. Like I said, we did have some damages. And hey, here's the bok choy. How cool is that? I just love this tower. We've harvested the outside, and we continue to harvest from the outside, but this is what it looked like in the beginning. And yes, we definitely did lose some. That's gardening is, but it is beautiful. And welcome to May in the garden. Finally, we can get our warm weather crops actually put into the ground. And the very first thing that we did was actually our tomatoes. Now, we only did 3 varieties of tomatoes. We have a mushroom basket, a Napa Chardonnay, and a San Marzano. And the cool thing is that this year we are doing them on trellises to be able to see and weed way better. So those little clips that I had, I'm just clipping them right onto the trellis. May is already off to a beautiful start. Being able to see everything grow in from previous months and everything that we've nurtured downstairs in the basement really come into fruition is just beautiful to see this process. So what we are doing is just putting as many of these transplants in the ground as we can whenever time permits. We've got 2 different varieties of basil. We've got a normal Genovese, I know I'm saying that wrong, Italian basil, and a beautiful new to our garden Tulsi basil, also called holy basil, and we are just in love with it. It is such a beautiful medicinal herb, and I'm so excited to work with it. I interplant the basil all around the garden in different spots. Also, I do the same with oregano, which looks so beautiful and bushy here. One thing about our garden is that we are making sure to interplant, companion plant, and make sure that we can put things next to each other that are going to help each other thrive, just like a good friend would do. So when you think of companion planting, think of what is the best good friend that my plant can have, just like we have really great friends in our lives. Now everything is growing so beautifully. Look at this bed. Look at the cabbage. I am just in awe of everything that grows over now probably 2 months. It's just so beautiful to actually walk through and see and envision what it used to be like, but also what it will be like. And here is a little sweet pea flower. I can say that there is beauty, wow, in every single thing that grows in the garden. It is a beautiful work of art that gets to turn into a delicious, yummy, nutritious meal. And also, I found with growing gardens that my children love to eat food and vegetables way better, especially when they know that they've had a hand in taking care of the plant. And here is what our spinach now and going to seed looks like in May. And here is our carrot in our beet box, which definitely needs to be weeded, but I always wait until things get a little bigger. Here's our peas getting eaten up by dills, our squashes in the ground, our Swiss chards going to seed, our mint, our lemongrass looking so good, and everything is truly, truly thriving. Now, this is after a very big windstorm, which we've had a lot of them, a lot of wind and a lot of rain, but everything really seems to be growing. Look, that's how they started, and now they are just so big. I love to see and watch this garden because I was amazed every time I came out here, and these cabbages were just like huge. Because look at that little guy started like so tiny. Sometimes in May, I feel like I am behind because I don't have everything in the ground yet, and I see other gardeners just way ahead of me. But it is okay. We take our time and we go at the pace of the garden. Now, here's our tobacco. It is my husband's favorite and very new to the garden this year. Now, like I said, we had storms, and this, y'all, this, you have to listen, was wild.
Absolutely just freaking messed up. I heard when we went to the basement, I heard such loud stuff. We have a window that's broken. Our trampoline is completely moved. All of our covers is gone. And it looks like a whole bed just might be gone, but we can't see it. The trampoline is completely just like half of it is messed up. I don't think I've ever been through a storm of this magnitude that has ever done this to our stuff.
To our
heavily.
personal stuff, yeah.
Our personal stuff heavily.
Yeah. So here's the aftermath of the garden, and thankfully nothing of the garden or of ours were super damaged. We did lose our tent, but I'm very thankful. We had a window get busted out just because something hit against the glass, but I'm thankful we're all safe and all of the plants are safe. Now, the cool thing about this is that the garden bed actually protected that trampoline from not going to the house because it got lodged in between them. And this is the garden bed that it was directly over. It smashed our lettuce going to seed, but everything else looks good. Here's some wires that came down. It was just a very intense and wild storm that we have never had to rush down to the basement so fast. After our storm cleanup, I decided to experiment with putting some vegetables because I had so many left over into our front garden beds. Now, this is not the greatest soil. I amended it very lightly, but we'll see how it grows. And because April showers bring May flowers, they also bring May weeds. So I am constantly always trying to pluck weeds. Now, another thing that I saved from last year was okra seeds. This is heavy hitter, and it is so easy to preserve. You just take it off the pod and you let it dry out, and it gives you beautiful seeds. And I can say, spoiler alert, that they are growing so beautifully. And because it's been 2 months for some of the things in the garden, it is time to harvest them. So I am now harvesting my bok choy that I started from seed. Now, because we do not use any kind of pesticides, there are going to be holes in the leaves, which is honestly okay for me. You're not going to have a perfect looking vegetable. And like I said, that is definitely 100% okay with me. Now, these will do better in the fall and will be pest resistant because, well, those pests won't be here anymore. And finally, it is time to harvest this snapper cabbage. Now, oh my gosh, look It is bigger than your girl's head, and I am just so completely excited. One of the things that I do is try to pre-process all of our wow, our vegetables outside just to be able to clear them of any bugs and any dirt so I don't bring any of that in the house. Now, when I do bring them in, that is when they get their final wash in either a salt and water mix or a water and vinegar mix. And this cabbage got turned into dehydrated cabbage for ramen or stir fries, just easily for my kids or myself to grab, put in water, and boil. And it is so very good. Also, it is time to start harvesting my sugar daddy snap peas. Now, I put these in the very beginning of March, and now they are producing flowers in little pods. And yes, I harvested these early, but I was excited and I could not wait to eat them. And I also harvested this onion that I'm pretty sure I planted last year and forgot. Now, because I harvested that one Napa cabbage, I decided to just go ahead and harvest the rest to give my broccoli and the lettuce in there room. And when I say that this was probably one of the most exciting and enjoyable harvests, it is just, you can see it on my face. I am so excited. Even with the small cabbage heads, when you get to grow things from your own hands, I really feel like there is just such joy in the harvest because you were there at every part of that plant's life. And this is the hard work that you get to celebrate at the end. Obviously, it's eating, but just getting to harvest and look at this beautiful handful of cabbage in a bright early May morning. I can't ask for better than that. And as always, I do process before, and I'm just making sure that there's like not any icky bugs on the side, because as much as I love gardening, I dislike bugs probably just as much. So I am making sure to carefully go through each of these leaves, and I am actually placing them on two of our chairs that I rinse them on before I put them in the bag. Now, what I'm looking for is any caterpillars, any cabbage poop, any like little tiny caterpillars, just because cabbage moths love to hide in brassicas. And here's me just rinsing them off. I really find that it's helpful, and this was about 6 pounds. Can you believe that? It was huge. That is 6 pounds of cabbage in the bag. And one thing I can never get away from is weeding the garden. No matter if there is nothing in it or if the carrots have overgrown, I am always weeding. One of the things that did start coming up this month was our green beans. Now, I got them in late, but honestly, I probably just got them in right on time. And here is our spinach that is going to seed. Do you remember it looked like this only 3 months ago? And now it has got these little seeds that are going to give us so much more spinach for years and years to come. Really, that is such a cool thought. Here are our peas in that middle bed, and it was nothing, absolutely nothing 3 months ago. I just love how the garden grows. Here is our corn now. It is going to be definitely knee-high before the 4th of July, but this is what it looked like before anything was put in. Now I am currently harvesting radishes, which are such a beautiful and delicious crop, and they're a 30-day turnaround, so you can always have fresh radishes coming in the house. I am just so thankful for what the garden gives us, from the very beginning to the tiny seedlings, to putting them in the garden with such care, to finally being able to see them in their spots as they grow. So, thank you so much. This has been 3 months in the garden.